I'm Old Sneelock. Welcome to another episode of Old Sneelock's Workshop. Wanted to do a little postulating today. This is about the third day of file sharpening process. And I'm learning things as I go along. Because I wanted to go through and show why file sharpening works, rather than just standing here waving my arms and saying, yeah, it works, it works, it works. I wanted to be able to say it works because it does this. Well, as I'm going along, I'm spending a lot of time here doing cleaning of files and setting up a process, and checking on the acid bath and doing all the other things involved in actually getting a test done. And I'm wondering, there's a couple of questions that kind of came up. One, since I'm working with files that are rusty, and this particular file has got quite a bit of rust on it. So to make sure that I'm working with a file that is clean, because one of the arguments is putting the file in acid doesn't really do anything towards sharpening it, it just cleans it. And I thought, well, okay, best way to disprove that, or just to test the idea. And really, I should be trying to just test the ideas. Rather than having a conclusion to start with, I need to have an open mind and inquire as to how it works, rather than just saying it works. But I thought, okay, first thing I need to do is really clean the file well. And I've been using this steel file scraper, which works quite well. I mean, it cleans out the files. And then in my travels, I came across a card file, and I picked it up because I thought, okay, cool. Now I have a card file. This is the proper method to clean a file. But when you got a file this bad, I mean, it's seriously gunked up. It's got a lot of rust in it. Going across it with a file card just seemed like an awful waste of a file card. As I was going along, I was thinking, you know, the process of rusting is very similar to what I'm doing with the acid. The rust removes steel and thins the edges down. So is the rust actually sharpening the file? That's an interesting thought to explore. And just based on what we've been talking about here, I think it might have some validity. But before I go whole hog into saying let's let our files rust, I want to prove whether this works or not. So I'm going to go ahead and clean up these files with the copper tubing. Test them. See just how sharp they are. We've already done the test where we tried them right out of the box with all the rust and gunk on them. The iron oxide dust. Nasty stuff. I had thoughts of making a handle for this piece of copper tubing. But I'm thinking as fast as it wears down, I'm going to have to make the handle something that I can replace the copper tubing in fairly easily. This piece of iron is about 16 years old. It was about an inch longer than what it is now. I've taken 1/8 of an inch off of this copper tubing already. But there's plenty there. And there's more back there in the back. Then the copper is pretty soft. I can wear a set of teeth in that pretty quickly too. I wanted to do this close-up to show you how much junk I'm getting out of this file. Well, I think I finally got most of it out of there. Now I got to flip it around and do the back edge. But you guys don't want to watch that. It's just more of the same. This little elbow on the copper tubing is actually quite a nice handle, but it really needs to be this way. I think I'm going to take a minute and smack it out with a hammer. Now I kind of folded over double and made it smaller. I don't know if that's necessarily bad. Now it concentrates the effort on a smaller spot. Better on the wrist. I don't have to hold my hand cocked at an angle. Okay, we're all cleaned up. Now I gotta come over and do this side. It's a never-ending task. But the new improved copper digs faster. If rusting a file makes it sharper, it's not worth the effort, guys. If you gotta do this much work to take the rust off, you're better off just keeping the file clean. As I tell you, this rust is tenacious stuff. This copper tubing is actually heating up. I'm rubbing it back and forth on that file. Rather than carry on for another half hour or so on this file while the camera's running, because it just eats up data, I'm going to shut off the camera and we'll come back to this when I'm finishing up. As I was standing here scraping on this file, I was thinking, this reminds me of something. This is the same motion I used when I was scraping bearings. Big gibs on presses. You take that big chunk of brass and you scrape it flat. And then you go through and with a tool shaped very similar to this, a little bit longer, you would go through and put oil grooves in it. Flake the surface so that the oil could be spread across the surface of that bearing. Very, very similar motion. Okay, this file is all scraped out, both sides. I'm wire brushing the tang, I'm not wire brushing the grooves of the file. You don't want to do that. That dulls the file. Finally finished scraping that big file. Time well spent. If you have any suggestions for a new video, questions about today's video, or any of the other videos on the channel, just drop a note in the comments. You know I read them all. Thanks for watching.